Aloha and welcome back to these videotape sessions for the Stick with the Winners class. We're providing additional background information and details concerning our new book, Stick with the Winners, How to Conduct More Effective 12-Step Recovery Meetings Using Conference-Approved Literature. This session will be talking about the AA General Service Conference-Approved book, Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers. And now I'd like to turn this over to my dad, Dick B. So, Dad, take it away, please.
Hi, I'm Dick B., and this is the third of the conference-approved pieces of literature that we are going to quote from. The first was the Big Book. The second was the Co-Founders of Alcoholics Anonymous pamphlet. And now Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers, which I have in front of me for a moment. In this session, we'll continue reading statements found in AA General Service Conference-approved literature that provide support for applying the principles and practices of first century Christianity and of early Akron AA's Christian fellowship involving God, His Son, the Bible, religion, clergy, and church in today's recovery fellowships, including Alcoholics Anonymous. The following statements come from pages 21 to 23 of our book, Stick with the Winners, to which Ken had just referred. They're found in AA General Service Conference-approved book, Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers. I'm going to read now from those quotes in our guide from Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers. So here goes. Another invaluable conference-approved book is Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers. This book is available to any office, any AA office, group, or meeting which wishes to offer or read it to members and newcomers. It states on pages 116 to 17, she, Dr. Bob's wife Ann, read the Bible and counseled with me. She gave me a couple of phrases to say whenever I got downhearted or confused or frustrated. One I remember is God is love, and I used it consistently. And on page 71, each morning there was a devotion after a long silence in which they awaited inspiration and guidance and would read from the Bible. Sue also remembered the quiet time in the mornings, how they sat around reading from the Bible. Later they also used the upper room. And on page 89, Dr. Bob would take them upstairs and make them say that they would surrender themselves to God. And on page 101, the surrender was more than important, it was a must. Bob E. said, quote, they demanded it. You couldn't go to a meeting until you did it. If by accident you didn't make it in the hospital, you had to make it in the upstairs bedroom over at the Williams' house. On page 110, if the newcomer agreed to go along, he was required to admit he was powerless over alcohol and then to surrender his will to God in the presence of one or more of the other members. While the emphasis on this was very strong, the earliest AAs agree that Bob presented God to them as a God of love who was interested in their individual lives. And on page 111, we had much prayer together in those days and began quietly to read Scripture and discuss a practical approach to its application in our lives. And on page 101, they had a regular old-fashioned prayer meeting. And on pages 118 to 19, we started meetings with a prayer and ended them that way. And on page 129, the next person mentioned in the Frank Amos report was Dr. Howard S., general practitioner at Cuyahoga Falls, aged about 35. S. had been an alcoholic and had been cured by Smith and his friends' activities and the Christian technique prescribed. And at page 136, the morning devotion, page 136, morning devotion and quiet time, however, were musts. And at page 141, the meeting closed with the Lord's Prayer. And at page 144, Dr. Bob was always positive about his faith. Clarence said if someone asked him a question about the program, his usual response was, "What does it say in the good book?" Page 148, daily contact was emphasized. Page 150, when I started, they stressed morning quiet time, daily reading, and daily contact. And at page 151, the Bible was stressed as reading material, of course. And at page 174, Dr. Bob has had more experience and has obtained better results than anyone else. And at page 118, Dr. Bob was a prominent man in Akron. Everybody knew him. When he stopped drinking, people asked, "What is this not drinking liquor club you've got over there?" "A Christian fellowship," he would reply. And at page 131, he, an alcoholic, must have devotions every morning, a quiet time of prayer, and some reading from the Bible and other religious literature. And that concludes our reading from Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers.